The first section is the illusion of choice, which we talk about all the time. But the coined phrase for this is called choice architecture. So let me pull up this diagram to give you an example of what it looks like. So as you can see here on this diagram, there's two, and this is really simple, and most of you guys know this. And a lot of things we're going to talk about today, you guys already know. But you guys are going to fall.
What are nudge units?
Yeah, we're going to talk about nudge units. But you guys fall into this all the time. And it happens to me. Like I say a lot, knowledge is not causational. Just because you know something, it doesn't mean you do the thing. You can know, it happens to me all the time. I can know a lot. Doesn't mean I'm immune from falling into the same traps. So as you see here on this diagram, well, what do you see here, colleague?
My interpretation of this painting.
Yes.
Looks like there's a broad road and a narrow road. And one is bad based on the red check mark, and one is good based on the green check mark. But it depends on who made this. If the government made this picture,
I made it.
Okay, well then, that speaks volumes of the.
Well, it's contextual with our topic today.
Of course. Well, it looks like you're saying then that the narrow road is the bad one, but it's still check mark, but it's not the one that people want to go to. It's more, requires effort, as it says.
Yeah, and it's close. See, picture, and I created this not because it's my interpretation. I created this because this is what the government does. This is a choice architecture or a system. So the government, and we're going to get into nudge units. The government, as you can see on this yellow arrow, it's wide. It's open. Everybody can go here. And it's state approved. It's government approved. And there's no, what do you see there that you don't see on the other arrow? You don't see any barriers. See, on the blue line, the small line, the road that most people won't choose has a bunch of barriers, and that's why you won't choose, least path of least resistance.
And few are that find it.
Well, it's because who wants to work harder to get the same thing? And we're going to give an example, a lot of examples of this, but this is choice architecture, and the government uses nudge units, basically nudging you into a choice. And this is why I'm saying this isn't a psyop. They're physically making you do something by, in this example, putting barriers. If they let's say you want to go get an ice cream, but you have to go through this toll booth and you have to go through this side road and you have to go through this and there's a fee. But if you go this way, you don't have to go do nothing. It's just straight shot.
It's broad and many find it.
There's no restrictions. So people say, oh, that's stupid. I'm not going that way. Yet this is real ice cream. And this over here is that government-sanctioned ice cream.
Yeah, and you can see the choke point at the end.
Yeah, we're going to get into what that's actually the next section is called the choke point, but funny or not. But that's what I want to show. And now I'm going to give you guys
burn notice.
Some examples, some simple examples. Think about what we deal with right now. Now, the most common simple example of this is the Real ID Act. Everybody knows about the Real ID. And now think about it. This ID, this is Congress.gov. It was passed in 2005. That was 20 years ago that this Real ID was passed. What's crazy about it is they take 20 years to pass this. And we're still in this limbo land, right?
You're saying they passed it 20 years ago, but they haven't enforced it yet until recently. But this way, when they start enforcing it, people can't say, well, you just did this yesterday. They can say, no, it's been here forever. It actually makes us feel thankful that the government gave us this much grace period.
Well, that's the beauty about this idea of barriers or pain. Pain is engineered. It's not natural with the government. They know. Everybody hates pain. We run from pain. So they curate a pain or a restriction and barrier. So like I say, that was created 20 years ago to pass it out. Now, does the government say, colleague, that every American must carry a national ID card?
Yes.
No, they don't. What they do, and of course they can't because that's unconstitutional. They can't say every American must have a national ID card. Instead, they use choice architecture. What they do is they change the airports. You don't have to get a real ID.
Yeah, but you're going to pay extra, wait longer. You know what's funny too is shows like Abbott Elementary, that television show. It's supposed to be another version of The Office. They actually are now talking about it. It's interesting too. They've been putting a lot of trans people in there, and where stuff that wasn't in there before. Like me and my wife have been watching it since the beginning. None of this stuff was in there until recently. So whenever the whole trans thing was a big thing, when under the different administration, of course, there was a lot of trans people in there, and these characters were saying, "Oh yeah, we love you, we affirm you," and all this stuff. Like they were just shoving it in there. It was uncontextual. These are elementary school teachers, and for some reason they went to a trans drag show. It's like, what are you doing? And if you're going to do that, why do you have to air that? So it was just weird. It's uncontextual. It was like, what does this have to do with anything with the kids in an elementary school, which is what every other episode's about. But now we're going to focus on the teachers for an episode and see what they're doing in their pastime, these cool teachers. And then that was during that time. Now, one of their most recent episodes of the season is talking about they're all trying to go on a flight to go take a vacation, but they can't because they don't have the real ID, and they're all upset and they're like, "Oh, this is dumb," So they're allowing us to live through them and live out our frustration through them. So that way, when we do it, we're already expecting. It's like, okay, well, if you're mad, it's because you haven't seen Abbott, first of all, and you haven't been paying attention to news because they've been propagating it. Acclamation precedes propulsion.
Right. Well, it's interesting. I didn't know that they were doing such things on children's show, but I guess that's perfect.
It's not a children's show. It's for adults, but it's about kids and teachers in an elementary school.
Oh.
But now for some reason we have a whole episode about them at an airport.
Right.
It's like, what are you doing? So it's just weird. You can see the force. They're force fitting it in.
Well, that's the beauty about that choice architecture. They don't change. They don't create the mandate. They just change. They weaponize convenience. You don't have to get a real ID to live in America. You can keep your regular old license.
Yeah, I still have a fake one and it works.
Yeah, it's your choice. Use it when you want to, right? But if you make that choice, you can't get on an airplane. Or like we talked about before, now they're going to say in, I guess, next month, you're going to start paying a $45 fee. So it's your choice. You don't have to get this national federalized database connected with all the panopticons. You can just keep it, but pay your fee, have a passport, have your papers. You're going to get pulled out of the line. You're going to get screened. It's going to take, let's say, all these barriers. And so what people do, like we showed on this simple little chart, they're going to go with the state-approved default option. There's no barriers. They're just going to get the real ID. Why would you want to go through all of this? And so they make it impossible for you to do anything else. Not by force, but by your own choice. But this is a physical, this is why they call this structural control or behavioral engineering. They're changing your, like, what we always play that video from Larry Fink. Here at BlackRock, we're changing behaviors. See, it's not, we're just going to play psyops. We're going to change your behavior.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's not by force, it's not by might, but it's by the grace of the government.
It's by restrictions and barriers.
Well, we've been already given this 20 years of grace. So they could have acted on us. They could have punished us, but they didn't because they've been showing us mercy for 20 years.
Well, they're smart. They know that if you just smash it in people's face, that just causes resistance and riots and everything else. And then they're going to have constitutional fights, court. Just give people the option, but make it very, very inconvenient. And then you'll do it. And so the government uses these nudge units, these little things to nudge you in the right direction until you make this decision.
That's cool. It's like it's actually a metric we could use. It's like how many nudge units have they done this week?
Right.
That we could actually start talking like that. That could actually be in a dictionary.
Yeah, well, it is it's a technical thing they use in their constructs of structural control.
So the government actually uses the term nudge units?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well,
Well,
there you go.
well, I can't say, we'll call it governmental think tanks. The lobbying that the government pays, and we'll get into what's called the grant feedback loop. The government pays think tanks to create these structures. And once they've figured out and they've done all the research of what manipulates the people the best, they give that data to the government, but in those papers by the think tanks, they call them nudge units. And it makes sense. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, how many times this week did they nudge us towards...
Or how much? Like a unit is a metric, like a calorie. Like how much nudging does it take to get somebody to move this way? Or how much nudging does it take to get somebody this way? And how much money and resources does it take to do this? And those are nudge units. And they know that. They've perfected it. And so when you look at all of this and you look at what's been going on with the Real ID, you notice that it's all passive. But you find yourself in this program prison. And how do you get out of this illusion of choice? What are you going to do?
Not what some animals are deciding to do.
Well, that's beyond structural control. That joker's frozen. Is that a cat? Yeah, I think that's a cat.
Kind of looks like a raccoon.
Yeah, maybe it's a raccoon. That's a long tail.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to tell, but that's one option. You can take a swim. You can swim with the fishes even.
Yeah, but if you do that, what happens is that you don't have that. I mean, nobody forced you to, I guess. Yeah, I guess you can think about it. Nobody forced you to go swimming. But I don't know if you can blame the government for that one. I think that's just user error. I mean, a government's just going to be like, well, that's fine. That's just one less nudge unit I got to spend on that person.
Well, think about all the humans that are following that raccoon cat.
Oh, yeah. Again, that's that conformity experiment. Even though it's stupid, because, like they say, if everybody jumps off a bridge, are you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, of course. Everybody's jumping off. And you're going to be the guy that's not.
Yeah, and that's where you stay in the structured program, like you're talking about, the structure of the bridge. You're going to stay on the bridge or you're going to jump.
Right. Well, another example that goes along with this, which a lot of people may know and a lot of people don't, is the Pension Protection Act of 2006. And I'm not going to get into the details of it. I just want you guys to see what it is. So this is the Pension Protection Act of 2006. And the key word here is automatic enrollment. Now, remember that. It's automatic enrollment. Now, before 2006, this has to do with 401ks and retirement plans. Before 2006, if you wanted to get enrolled into a 401k, you had to sign a paper. You had to say, I want my money to start being contributed into a 401k. You literally had to sign it so you can do that. But in 2006, Obama recognized a lot of people wasn't investing in the stock market. And 2 years later, 2008, we had the banking collapse. I'm not going to get into all of that schema. But in 2006, he realized, well, I think, I don't know how much these people realize any of this, back to the think tanks. But the scheme was people aren't investing in the market and we need to get them to do it. How do we do it? And that's why people don't realize your 401k is just a way for them to get your money into the stock market.
Well, how do we know Obama wasn't just instead investing in like a new cook because he lost one of his cooks at a drowning accident?
Well, I'm sure that's connected in some way, of course, because, everybody needs swimming lessons. What the mafia say. You're going to go swim with the fishes?
Well, that guy was actually a professional swimmer. His cook was actually a professional swimmer before he became a cook for him. But, he drowned in like an 8-foot pool.
Well, that's why the mafia says you're going to be swimming with the fishes.
Yeah. So,
even if you know how to swim.
Yeah. And there was what's funny is there was no fishes. Like my daddy always used to tell me and my brother that like when he'd get mad, he'd say something like, you're going to go to eat outside with the dogs. And he would always say that, or you're going to go sleep outside with the dogs. And, a lot of times we'd look at each other and be like, what dogs? Like there are no dogs out there. But I think what he was talking about was the wild dogs, the ones
where the wild things live.
Yeah, from the Everglades.
Yeah.
But Obama, Yeah, he sent his cook to go swim with the fishes, but there was no fishes, so the joke was on him. But he was investing in a new cook, I think. So instead of investing in the market, he got saved by the cook, not by the bell.
Yeah, but that cooked, he was automatically enrolled.
That cooked.
Yeah, he got cooked automatically. He had no option in it. There was no papers assigned do you want to get cooked? No, he was automatically enrolled. And just like this 401k, this Pension Plan Act of 2006, the government passed a law that allowed companies to automatically enroll you into a 401. So then you would automatically see these withdrawals contributing to a 401 automatically. And then you may ask your employer, what's this? Oh, it's to the 401k. It's your retirement plan. We set it up for you. Everything's good and you're good to go. And you're good for your, and most people, because it's just like the schemas that you go into these like apps. You're automatically signed up. You know how it says next. Mm-hmm. How many people are reading that stuff? And there's always this option, do you want to opt out? But default is checked to opt in. So if you're not thinking about it, you just opt into how much spam mail and spam everything. And this is that automatic enrollment. This is another structural control. So the government didn't force you to save money. They just exploited your laziness, because then you could tell your employer, I don't want that. I don't want you to have a 401k. And the employer says, okay, fine. You need to fill out this paper. You need to sign this. You need to do all this stuff. And you're like, but I didn't agree to any of this. Well, the government said there was a law passed that we're just going to do it. And we thought it would be beneficial. But if you don't want to, here's all this paperwork. Here's all this stuff. Sign it, get it all done, and send it back to me, and we'll take it out. But because people are defaultly following inertia, the momentum, it's already there. Do you want to go through all these barriers? The automatic enrollment is a perfect way to control your behavior, because you don't want to do all this stuff to get out. And you didn't even have a choice to get in. You're just automatically enrolled. Now you're not stuck. You can get out. But now here's the barrier. So the beauty about automatic enrollment is the opposite of front side. The front side is you have choices. Here's the barriers. They're up here. But your choice has to be made. Automatic enrollment puts the barriers on the back side. You're already in. Now the barriers to get out. So either way, they got barriers. Barriers to get in or barriers to get out. Either way, they got you in.
I've never been one for the back way in, but yeah, I like having the choice.
But once you're in, a lot of people just go with the momentum, and they're like, well, I guess it's already here. I don't want to deal with all this paperwork.
Yeah, it's the cherry on top.
It's provocative. That's exactly what it is. And you know what's crazy about this Pension Enrollment Act of 2006?
No, what?
It actually worked. Participation rates in 401k skyrocketed from 60% to 90% in effective plans. So millions of people's financial behaviors were programmed without a single mandate. They didn't force anybody to do it. They just automatically enrolled you, and it got 30% more people forced into the market. And you know what's crazy is that 2 years later, we have one of the biggest collapses, but they got you to dump it in. And so just think about that. Automatic enrollment is everywhere, and it's the easiest way to control people's behavior because you're already in. You're locked in. So that's structural control, and they're programming the population to adopt a federal standard by weaponizing what? Convenience.